leisure.
In the afternoons we like to walk, and we both like bushwalking, and we've always led a pretty active lifestyle. That's what I've always done.
Garry Richardson and his wife Mary enjoy the outdoors, but there are more rest stops on their walks these days.
There's a few people around, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Day like today.
Garry has spent the past 8 weeks recovering from blood clots in his liver and lung. He developed severe abdominal pain 7 days after his first dose of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine, one of the very few people who've experienced clotting linked to the jab.
The pain was just so bad that I said to Mary, I've got to go to hospital.
That was the first I knew about it, because he's stoical and hadn't mentioned it at all.
And it took around 5 days, could have been 6, for them to work out that I probably had the blood clots from the AstraZeneca.
Garry is one of 64 Australians who've had confirmed or probable thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome, or TTS, likely to be linked to their AstraZeneca vaccine. 2 people have died. The latest statistics show that for people under 50, the estimated risk of TTS is 3 per 100,000 AstraZeneca doses. For those aged 50 to 59, it's 2.4 in 100,000. And for those over 60, it's less than 2 in 100,000.
I definitely decided I was unlucky because one of my friends said, you could have won Tatslotto, you had the same odds.
Garry was in hospital for 16 days. He's still on blood thinning medication and has weekly blood tests.
For the last month, I've been getting stronger every day, but I still can't do what I could do before that happened.
Garry's experience hasn't turned him against vaccination, but he knows that rare cases like his are making some people hesitate to get the AstraZeneca vaccine.
We've got to achieve herd immunity, but it's up to every person to make up their own mind. And I think people make up their mind a lot quicker if the government gave away AstraZeneca completely and just concentrated on Pfizer.
Earlier this month, the Federal Advisory Group on Immunisation changed its advice on AstraZeneca after weighing up the risk of COVID-19 compared with the risk of TTS. It now recommends Pfizer as the preferred vaccine for Australians under 60 rather than 50. That June 17 advice also said that people under 60 could have AstraZeneca if Pfizer wasn't available, as long as the benefits were likely to outweigh the risks for that individual and they were making an informed decision. Katie Flanagan is part of that advisory group.
Now, I have to say that if we had rampant COVID in the whole of Australia, the risk-benefit analysis would be in favour of AstraZeneca for all age groups, because we would be preventing many, many deaths and dying, and it would be far greater than the risk of this syndrome, TTS. But we try and get a balance here.
As new outbreaks in Australia grow, the Prime Minister is making a point of saying that any adult can get AstraZeneca if they want it.
We will be implementing a new no-fault indemnity scheme for general practitioners who administer COVID-19 vaccines. So this relates to encouraging Australians to go and chat to their GP about their vaccination and to have their vaccination administered.
The news came as a surprise to the Australian Medical Association, given the expert vaccination panel's recommendation for over 60s still stands.
The medical advice has not changed. There is simply a recognition that the access for those who wish to make an informed consent decision can be broad and consistent with the supply.
Now, you had the first one on the 1st of April?
Yes.
Dr Jamal Rifi has been vaccinating people with AstraZeneca since March. He says he's seeing hesitation in people over 60.
By now, it's not about general practitioners being indemnified or not. It's about patients being accepting the AstraZeneca or not. There is a lot of confusions out there, and unfortunately by now the horse has bolted. People made up their mind and they're all waiting for the Pfizer vaccine to be available in the rollout.
Haematologist Huon Tran has been involved with nearly every TTS case in Victoria. He says experts have developed a much stronger understanding of the rare syndrome since vaccinations started 4 months ago. As someone involved in the research of TTS, he still believes AstraZeneca has a place in Australia's vaccine rollout.
I think the data is quite clear that people aged greater than 60 have a net benefit in receiving the COVID-19 vaccine, and in this instance, specifically the AstraZeneca vaccine, I think that still holds true.
In New South Wales, there's concern that people who have been eligible for AstraZeneca for months are testing positive for COVID.
We're also seeing some of our elderly cases not vaccinated, and just want to remind the community that whilst initially there were really constrained supplies of our AstraZeneca vaccine, the Commonwealth has rolled out that vaccine progressively through general practice, and we also have access through health clinics, and I would urge everyone to take this opportunity.
It is very disappointing. Actually, I think that people are trying to turn away from the AstraZeneca vaccine in favour of the Pfizer vaccine. These vaccines perform very, very similarly in terms of how effective they are against preventing disease, against preventing hospitalisation, against preventing death, and against preventing transmission of the infection to other people.
While the country waits for more supplies of Pfizer, some younger Australians are pleased to hear they can get AstraZeneca if they want it. Ruby Dallas is trying to get pregnant and wants to make sure she's vaccinated for future hospital visits.
It's great news. We all need to do our part to stop this pandemic and stop these lockdowns. Definitely going to book an appointment with my GP. He knows my fertility journey, he knows where I'm at, and he knows that I prefer to err on the side of caution. So he'll be able to make the best informed decision for me.
In Canada, people who've received a first dose of AstraZeneca are being advised to receive an mRNA vaccine, such as Pfizer or Moderna, for their second dose. Australia isn't advising mixing and matching vaccines. The risk of TTS following a second dose is lower than after a first dose. There are no reported cases of TTS following a second dose in Australia.
For many of those countries, it's being done as a precaution, or it's being done because actually their program is largely reliant on mRNA vaccines anyway.
Well, I wanted to protect myself, my family and my community. I didn't have a second thought about it.
Well-known cook Maggie Beer has had both her doses of AstraZeneca.
I want to see our world go back to as close to normal as is possible, and I can't see how that can happen until a community is vaccinated. So I truly felt the need and to be vaccinated as quickly as I could.
Even after seeing her husband hospitalised, Garry Richardson isn't hesitating to get her second AstraZeneca dose.
I've got an appointment and I will go back because I was okay the first time, so I'm assuming I shall be okay the second time. I mean, it's important to do it for the greater good, but I think we've got to be very careful in telling people to do things for the greater good if there is a risk involved.
I think people have got to make up their own decision and talk to their doctors.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.